Hey, what's going on? This is my review for Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 11, Knots Untie. This was another episode I was very happy with. If the start of second half of Season 6 is anything to go by, I think we've gotten back to, in my opinion, which was the peak of the show that has been, in my opinion, consistently good, Season 3, and if this continues, I think this will easily surpass the entirety of Season 3, which has so far been my favorite season of the show for a number of reasons, and I can actually get into that another day. I really appreciated the opening scene between Abraham and Sasha. Abraham, a character I have loved from the moment they introduced him. He has so many freaking great lines. Just with our humpback friend, they had to wait for him to defecate the keys, and Sasha just camels don't eat keys. Just that little scene was just very enjoyable for me. I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, which was definitely seeing the new community, the Hilltop, which was awesome. I don't know. I really like the rural setting. Alexandria is more like a little mini town, almost like Woodbury, which is cool, but it's almost like it doesn't even feel like we're really as much in the apocalypse because it's more removed from it. So we have this one version of the town, and then we have the Hilltop, which is a lot more kind of out in the boonies, or whatever you want to use for the expression. There's swamp around. Rick's RV gets caught right when they get there in the dirt slash mud. So they get to this new community, and it's like this little rural area. There's one big building in the middle, which I also think is a nice touch to it. It looks like I think it was a museum or a library. They have a leader there. They have they've got like chickens, livestock. It's a really cool place. And when Rick gets there, I like how Jesus is being used as like a little kind of like, I'm not really the biggest, I like religious symbolism when it's done properly, and I would say it's kind of cool how, I don't know if this is what they're trying to do, but he's kind of like a peace broker between the two communities, and he's letting Rick bring their guns in, because these two guys on the ramparts with spears, they're not really going to be doing much to prevent that. But I don't think Rick's trying to kill anybody. He's there to either trade or figure out if they can work out a deal with these people. The community leader, Gregory, is he's kind of okay, but he's also kind of a douche, but I think that's what they're going for. And it looks like Walking Dead's going to get more into a little bit of politics, hopefully not as annoying as our current political system in this country. It's also nice to see the little conversation between him and Maggie, because he didn't really want to talk to Rick. And if Maggie's becoming more of a leader, as Deanna implied earlier, that would be a really good moment of character development for her. I also like that she didn't let kind of Gregory harass her. Not that he was harassing her, but he was kind of coming on to her, as she said, and she's like, yeah, I'm not going to take that honey shit. I thought that was kind of cool. Anyways, there was the kind of big fight scene. I was a little, I hate seeing Rick get in so many situations where it seemed, obviously I don't think Rick's gonna die because he's the main character and he's fucking Rick Grimes, but I don't like him being on the downside of a situation all the time, but you still need to create that tension. I just wish it was done a little differently. That being said, I thought it worked. It worked pretty well, because this guy really has no incentive to try to kill Rick anyway, so I don't think Rick was in too much danger. It was just more of, he wasn't going to kill him, because if he does, he's just fucked as well, and of course Rick isn't going to take a chance. As soon as he sees an opportunity, he's just going to take it. As he said in Season 5, if you see these people, you kill them, because they're not going to give you a second chance. If you get that opportunity, it's kind of, don't talk, shoot, or in this case, stab in the throat. So Ethan, at first, who was the guy who came, I actually thought that he was like what's the word? Kind of a spy slash kind of mediator between Negan's group and these people who's getting their stuff, but it turns out he's part of the Hilltop community, but I'm wondering if just because of his appearance, he looks like one of Negan's guys, so I was very surprised that he wasn't, but then they got his brother, so that's probably a load of crap what I'm thinking there. It's just my first impression of that. But as we know, after they found out that they killed a couple of their guys, they get into this big scuffle. It's kind of hard. I gotta rewatch the episode to find out exactly why the fight started. But anyways, Rick gets the upper hand and kills Ethan because he stabbed Gregory. Duh. And he's like saying, I had to. He had to do it because this Negan guy is just like, seems like he's going to be a very brutal person from what we've seen so far on the show. And that being said, he may have had to send this message, or else, something even worse would happen. So, but Rick doesn't understand that. I think that's what Jesus meant at the end when he said things are more complicated than they seem, which they certainly are. Rick's group is just used to be kind of brute forcing their way through certain problems. Abraham just had a great episode as well. Oh my goodness! And again, I'm lauding this entire second half of the season, which I think is totally made up for the good first half, but not amazing. But the second half, I'm just completely loving. Abraham actually has a little bit of an arc in this episode where he's in bed with Rosita earlier, and then when he's getting choked to death, he hears Sasha's voice kind of basically insinuating that that's who he might want to live for instead of just casually having sex with Rosita, who he probably cares for, but maybe not as intimate as perhaps he is with Sasha, at least on an emotional level, which I think is kind of cool because he seems really okay, and when Daryl asks him if he's alright, he's like, I've never been better, or I'm really good, or whatever. And it was also cool kind of seeing Daryl save him by breaking the dude's arm who was attacking him. But, oh, yeah, he said I'm better than all right. And there were a couple other little cool parts of this episode. So I think, but before I move on, I think there's going to be a little, maybe, triangle between Rosita, Sasha, and Abraham, which is kind of cool. But I think this episode's, well, maybe not, because this episode's kind of insinuating when Abraham loses the pendant that he's maybe completely moved on from Rosita, but maybe she makes it into a love triangle for whatever reason. The episode kind of ended on Jesus, Maggie, Michonne, and Glenn looking over the sonogram that the Hilltop residents that they saved were able to give her. And it was just cool seeing those four characters together, these three established characters, and then Jesus, who's like a newer guy who looks like he's going to be a really cool force in the show. And when they pass it off to Daryl, who's even, I wouldn't say getting choked up, but you can tell, like, just his facial expression is just, like, perfect for a guy like Daryl. Like, he's really hardened, but it didn't feel contrived whatsoever. That was just great acting, but you could tell that he was kind of moved by it, this total hard ass. And then Abraham, I think him seeing it kind of is going to push him closer to being with the one he really cares about, which I think is Sasha. And also on top of that, he had a conversation with Glenn about the pregnancy as well, which was also, all these things seem to be moving Abraham towards another direction, and I kind of like that. Like, it's subtle, because I think a lot of people may have totally missed that, but at the same time, I think it's apparent enough that they're clearly doing an arc for Abraham. So there were a number of really good things from this episode. And the other thing that I really, really enjoyed were there were just a number of really awesome lines. Let's go chew up some asphalt. Abe has so many ways, there are just so many awesome ways to talk about driving. Come high noon with taillights back in season 5. And then when he's talking to Glenn about, knocking up Maggie or getting her pregnant, when you were pouring the biscuit, were you trying to make the pancakes? Oh man, I about lost it. And then when Daryl talking to Denise, I hope it tastes better than it looks because it looks like shit. Oh man, this is just a wonderful episode, and I'm really hoping that this season just remains, just keeps this up, because I think if they can keep doing episodes like this is what this episode had so many good things. We get introduction to a new community, just new events happening, new people, there's lots of world building going on in The Walking Dead. And I think that's really more interesting than being confined to like one little area, because there's more dynamics to explore. Like The Walking Dead is just in a perfect place right now, and I can tell there's going to be some just awesome stuff coming up. So just stay tuned, guys, and until next time, this is MegaMattMKV over and out, guys.